Yes. I'm going to call the Monday, March 24th, 2025 regular meeting of the Jersey Shore Area School District Board of School Directors to order. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Enders?
Mr. Allen, present. Mr. Bringard, here. Ms. Bellman,
Here.
Ms. Edwards,
Here.
Mr. McDonald,
Here.
Mrs. Peters,
Here.
Mr. Furman,
Here.
Mrs. Thomas,
Here.
Mrs. Stemler,
Here.
all 9 members present.
Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Ulmer.
I'm going to recognize Mr. Armbruster.
Good evening, Jersey Shore. Tonight we have members of the Mary Poppins musical with us today. To lead us, you may recognize them as Mary Poppins, Bert, and Mr. Banks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't leave yet.
Next, we're going to have approval of the minutes from February 10th and February 24th. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the treasurer's report. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns?
I just want to point to the board, we're able to invest a $500,000 CD for 1 year at 4.18%. You'll see in March, we did 2 in March, $500,000 for 3 months and for 12 months. Currently, interest rates are still higher for the short term, for the 3 month, than it was for the 1 year. So that's why we did the short term investment.
Thank you, Mr. Enders. Any questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the bills. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Bills are normal, if not slightly down. The general fund payments, there is a bill in there for Sugar Valley. For the February invoice, that was $97,404.50. The February CD that I just mentioned, again, we had to invest that via check, so the $500,000 CD is in the general fund bill listing. That's why I would say the bills are slightly down when you take that out. The capital reserve payment, that is the Avis project, Amendment 2. There is still just shy of $6,100 left to pay on that project.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to presentations, Dr. Almer.
Nothing under communications this evening.
Under the President's report, we had an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel. Next will be committee reports. Jesse, do you have a report tonight?
I do.
Okay.
At your seats, I have a copy of what they hand out at the IU. And this, I guess, what I really want to say is that education planning is in the midst of its annual need of assessment process. Like other divisions at the BLAST process enables the districts to communicate with specific areas of need for curriculum, instruction, assessment, services, and professional learning for the upcoming school year. Basically, if you have a grandchild or a family member or somebody that needs assessed at the IU, all you have to do is make an appointment and they can assess them. We have Miss Amber Fair. She's a new employee at the IU, and she moved back to the area she's from, Williamsport. And also we have Mrs. Seagraves, who is also going to be an employee at the IU. So some changes there. But other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brungard, do you have anything to report this evening?
Just maybe a couple things. The majority of the board met tonight at the middle school over there and looked over the recommended modifications just to see what basically SiteLogic was recommending, I guess. And I like the whole board maybe for the next phase there. We're going to have over almost, 2.5, 2.8 million that we're going to have to consider repairs for. So maybe look over that recommendation from Mr. Wall and Dr. Ulmer and SiteLogic of future things in the future that we want to take care of. Maybe prioritize some of them and maybe send me an email what you think should be priority. Even go up to the high school and look at those recommendations there and see if there's anything there that you want to prioritize. They don't necessarily, to me, have to be in the middle school. That's it. Thank you.
Sorry, what was that amount that you said?
2.8 million.
I think we had like 2.5 and we had 300,000
Okay.
savings, somewhere
I
around
just
that.
wanted to get my math right while I'm at it.
Any other questions for Mr. Brungard? All right, thank you. All right, next we will have the student representative report. Kate? All right, thank you. And then we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
This evening, we have administrators present to answer questions about their building and program budgets. You did already receive this information, but in front of you again tonight is the overview plus each of their individual documents that they submitted to you a month ago. So if you want to reference those while they're speaking, you can. I'm going to go in order. So I'm going to start with Mr. Armbruster for the high school budget. Again, the document that he submitted to you is in front of you, and I do believe, based on what's in front of me, they are also in order. So if you flip up the overview sheet, Mr. Armbruster is first. If anybody has any questions for him, now's the time.
I'll start us off, Mr. Armbruster.
All right.
Under line 580, travel, business, state conferences. I see it's less than last year, so that's cool.
Yeah, considerably less.
What is that? Can you explain
So,
what's involved?
The FBLA state conference each year, historically, Jersey Shore sent a lot more students than we've been sending over the last 10 years or so. So after conversations with the business department, We did an average over the last 10 years and are projecting based off that average cost, as opposed to years prior, we were projecting off of like the best case scenario, which was when we sent like 55 kids. So the group agreed, like we haven't seen those numbers. Part of that is because students are now competing in Skills USA as well. So we're not sending as many students to the FBLA competition, but we're still sending a lot of students. There's students going this week or next week to Hershey for the skills competition. So that's the big reduction there in cost.
Just a little history to that. One of the things that happened, Jersey Shore is part of Region 7, and Region 7 itself, some of the numbers have come down, so they do not have the opportunity to send as many from Region 7 as they have in the past. So that's brought some of those numbers down and was not reflected in the budget the last couple of years.
Thank you.
And one more, mathematics. Is the 24-181, is that a new curriculum? Or what is that?
Mr. Fox is the department head, and as you know, he's retiring. We also have 2 other teachers that are retiring, and he recognized that the algebra textbooks are about 20 years overdue. They're older, and so when we start the process in October, he recommended that the new teachers would likely want to look at a new curriculum, and so that was a very generous estimate of what it may cost to get books, even though he's not going to be part of the process, he's not going to be part of that conversation. So his recommendation was that we put the money in the budget, give the teachers the first semester to work through what they have, and then hopefully they would have funds there if they decided that they needed some additional resources moving forward. Now that bid day has passed, we have 2 teachers coming up from the middle school who've taught algebra, the actual Keystone Algebra course there for a long time. So I do not expect that number to get anywhere close to that amount, but it's a projection. And at the time in October, we really weren't sure what was coming, other than those 3 made it very clear that they were going to retire.
Thank you.
Yep.
I had the same question, by the way. So what is this?
Yeah.
So you answered that, Bart. On 1100-610 in general supplies, you have under justification, computer lab chairs. Did you get them this year? Because they were in this year's budget too. So, okay, so that's part of the reason why it came down. Is
Yeah,
that my,
so
okay.
the last couple years, actually, we had about $5,000 set aside for lab chairs. So we put the keyboard lab in last year. The chairs just arrived this week, I believe, for the business lab and for the lab off of the library. So all the lab space at the high school is now updated with new chairs.
All right, under the 30, on just your front page here, the 32,750, where you have the tuba, and then you have 3850 for the 25-26 budget, but it's not there. So it's not, we don't, you have it at a tuba at a different place. So I wasn't understanding, when you look at the 610 and the 750, you have a Yama tuba and a wind instrument, and then you have an xylophone as new equipment, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
What's supposed to happen there?
So the xylophone conversation is coming later this evening. That was money that was set aside for the 24-25 budget, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, I think. But the proposal is that they would like to purchase this new tuba, and Sides is offering a discount, a considerable discount. They said that we would honor this price at 50% off of retail cost, and so that would be the total amount, the $5,500.
All right, so the 750 you don't need at all at this point in time.
The
The new equipment.
should be $5,500. Yeah, that may be an error on my document. So last year we had $3,850 budgeted. That was the issue. $3,850 was from the 24-25 budget. That was for the xylophone.
Right, I understand.
talking
Oh, okay,
about-
that was for the xylophone, 20,
Yeah.
okay.
And then the $5,500 should be for the 25-26 budget.
But you have it up in under 610.
Yeah, it should not.
So I guess that's part of my question too, Justin. In 610, you have three instruments there under general supplies, and then you have new equipment and you have replacement equipment. Should they be down there, or should they, I'm just trying to figure out.
No, we're gonna start putting our instruments up in the general supplies budget instead of down them all to capitalize.
Okay. That makes sense. So then this 750, it's, because it's at 610, 750 has been wiped out at this point. So you won't have new equipment and replacement equipment in the future. Okay.
That's the goal.
That makes sense, but it didn't make sense looking at it. All right, the 1100, 640. All right, under business, it's like $10,000 more. So is that the cost for the business you?
Correct, and that's a 3-year license.
A 3-year license?
Yeah, and that was, yeah, I think you approved it the last meeting.
Right, right, but isn't that technology? Why is it there, why is it under textbook rather than technology? Because even though it's technology, it's computer-based.
It will
It's
be their
their,
textbook.
yeah, it's their digital curriculum.
Okay. Math, yes, that he answered the question from Tim. All right, under the 2250, 640, which is your library. Seems to have numbers all over the place. You say there's approximately 720 students at $3 a student, but that number is not $3 a student, and it's less than last year, which is, I don't have a problem with that. So what is it? What is it actually?
So they purchased a bunch of furniture in the library over the last couple of years. And so that furniture cost is no longer going to be there. And we continue to work.
No, I'm just looking under the books, periodicals, and workbooks. You say that you budget $3 a student, but you have some different, the numbers there don't match the $3 a student unless you weren't using 720 or you're using something different. I'm just asking, what's the correct number or the correct amount?
I'd have to get that off my,
I think that's my
Input
error
form.
on your document. That was old language that we used. And now they're all working with the district-wide librarian to develop their own individual building budgets for for the library books.
So you're saying that little one underneath there doesn't belong there, you're just giving me the number that's there?
They're giving-
Okay, I'm
yes.
okay with that, and just saying these things don't
I
match
understand what you're saying.
And I asked you the one about the music. So I guess that's all my questions.
Right, right. In other words, the 23-28 from previous year is correct, but the 2030 is incorrect. It should be-
No, it's not incorrect, that's just what
Numbers
he's,
are correct, the
Should be the same.
terminology is not correct.
Right, okay.
Other high school questions? Thank you, Mr. Armbruster.
thank you.
Mr. Bittner. Mr. Bittner's sheet, explanation sheet should be the next one on your list, or on your file. Hi, questions for Mr. Bittner?
I can start.
Please do.
The student travel, you increased them out by 4,000, which I have no problem with. I'm glad to see that there's more kids and skills than there has been in the past. How did you base that? What did you base that on?
Yeah, so we are taking, last year we had one student qualify for space for Skills USA, this year we had 4, so we multiplied.
Okay. All right, 133610.
Health and medical.
All right, you have classroom supplies, and there's quite a bit of increase. What's causing that increase, or did you take those two things and put them together?
That's correct. We combined what was originally supposed to be equipment items, we just merged those into supplies.
So small equipment is part of that, so it's basically about the same, okay.
Yeah, that budget is flatlined for health and medical. And you're still realizing cost savings from that. because it's a new program that actually replaced construction trades. And so the presentation that I did last year, you're realizing about $5,500 in savings per year.
All right, the textbooks under 1330, 640. We need additional, or what's going on there? Because the textbook we looked at last year, I know is a multi-year textbook.
Yes, that's correct. But we only ordered 16 seats to start the junior cohort. For next year, we'll need to purchase an additional 16 seats because the juniors will matriculate to seniors and we'll bring in a whole new group of 16. But that will be the maximum expenditure and capacity for the program will be 32 seats. Good question.
$1342. No, I think I'm okay with that. It's just like sometimes the number goes under the budget, sometimes it goes under the total. There's sometimes not your fault, not necessarily consistent in the way this budget's written. And so I'm thinking, where is this number at? But you have it out here. And when I look at other budgets, some of them just do it in the total, some of them, so it's like there's different things there. So I don't really have a question. I don't really have a question.
I do want to point out 1342 is early childhood education, childcare. That's a self-sustaining program.
Right.
They bring in revenue to offset their expenditures. So that's a net zero.
All right, in 810. Do we not use those things anymore, or it's a multiple year contract, or what's going on there that last year we had and this year we don't?
Yeah, that's correct. That is a subscription that they are no longer utilizing. It's an academy that doesn't align to the task list any further, so it was removed.
So both of whatever that other thing is.
Yes.
Okay. So next year we won't see it. Well, we might see something. We might see something else. I'm not saying we won't see anything. 1380, 610. I'm making the assumption that building maintenance at $19,000, that you took and combined construction and building maintenance and it's now referred to building maintenance?
That's correct. So the funding that used to go towards the construction program is no longer necessary. That senior class will graduate. However, some of that funding you will see as a line item increase in supplies for building maintenance, primarily due to the estimated cost of increased for lumber.
On 1390, 610, usually CTE budget, general supplies and that stuff are very tight. Why the amount of, well, not loss, but why did it go down that much?
So from what I can see in previous general CTE supply budgets is there was money budgeted in general supplies for specialized supplies for NOCD testing. The instructors have not been utilizing those specialty funds. They've been utilizing their general, their program supply funds within their own budgets, and I haven't seen the need to expend that money, so I lowered that budget.
Okay, makes sense. I just know supplies are usually tight. And then he lowered it by that much, it's like how about what it was? 1390, 752. It's self-explanatory to me what it is matching funds for grants. What did we get this year with those?
Fortunately, this year and last year, we budget $15,000 as a match. The match has been waived the past 2 years. So this year, we actually received $85,000 in funding with no match. So not only did we get the $85,000 in funding, but we were able to, the board actually approved at the previous meeting to redistribute that $15,000 match back into general CTE supplies.
All right, so you didn't use this particular year, but you just moved it into next year for that safety. Okay.
We kept it within the same year, but we transferred it into contracted services for more field trips for this year. And we also transferred it into general supplies to purchase additional lumber and metal. We are budgeting it next year in case the match is not waived. We may be required to match next year, but if the match is waived again, as we're anticipating, that'll be an extra $15,000 that may be available for reallocation.
Thank you.
And remember previous years with that, when you referencing it being waived, I think, Justin, that was one year we got the West Company grant for, I believe, $5,000, and we used that matching funds to complete the project.
No, I understand what it's used for. I'm just curious what happened this year, but you got a lot more than that, and there was no matching funds.
We've used it for multiple things, not matching, but kind of our own internal matching thing for the project.
Yeah, a portion of that helped fund the new health and medical assisting program last year. It's been a blessing to have that in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner.
Thank you.
Mr. Minzer?
Good evening.
Bill, I haven't had a question, I looked through this, but I'm just amazed that the travel expenses almost, what, $90,000 to transport these kids back and forth? I just,
For all of our
I never would have thought it would have been that high.
Yeah, we have to go to Philadelphia and Delaware.
Bill, do you have that backwards? That's one of.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, where is this? Doesn't make sense. It went down, but okay.
It's up, but yeah, it's a lot of it's football trips, and then we're going deep into playoffs for basketball and stuff like that. It tends to add up.
That was one of my questions that I had, is that being backwards, and I don't know where we have the grand totals in this. Oh, down here. The one thing doesn't bother me, but I would, if possible, in the future, and that may not be allowed with Ben, but most of this athletic budget is all wages and the benefits and things like that. Is it possible to separate the sports, or even in the same spot, but put them separate? How much is just the things that you buy, the supplies and stuff? Because sometimes when you look at this and you say, oh, that is crazy, but yet when you look at your budget, it's 95% of it is wages.
Am I not speaking into it? Oh, I'm sorry.
So if it's possible that we can see that difference, it makes gives you a whole different perspective on the budget.
I could take out. Well, am I allowed to do that, Ben? I could do that. I could make something up like that. That wouldn't be hard.
I'll take care of it.
All right. Yeah.
Mr. Mintzer.
Yeah.
In general, I'll highlight a few. Football, general supplies, up significantly. Swimming, up significantly. What is, are you?
Swimming, we're replacing some of our, what are they, starting blocks. They're original, pretty much, to the pool. So we're gonna start 2 a year instead of doing all of them at once. I think they were $4,000 a piece. Yeah, they're not cheap to replace them. So that's where that comes up. In football, when I was the athletic director the last time, we went from Schutt helmets to Rydell helmets, and helmets are now only good for 10 years, and that was a little over 10 years ago, 2014, this is 2025 football season, so a lot of those helmets started to age out. And then our communication equipment that the coaches use from the field up in the booth, that kind of finally quit out last year. We tried to get it fixed once and it worked for a little bit, and then it stopped working again. So those are the major expenses for football and swimming. Are there any other questions?
I have a question for you. Under 810, the dues and the entrance fees, can you explain to me exactly what Big Teams account is?
Our Big Teams account is what we use for our scheduling program and also for our physicals.
Okay.
So when I came in last year, I really wasn't sure of how much that cost or anything like that. So when I did the budget last year, it wasn't reflective on exactly what we ended up spending on, or what it's spending on it this year. So our league covers a portion of it, but it's gone up significantly for The rest of it, essentially the physical portion part of it isn't covered. So our league covers are part of the scheduling packet portion of it. They tried to, back in the day, tried to get us to go to our school, if Mary remembers that. And we stayed with Schedule Star, and Schedule Star's expanded into the physical portion. So that's covering the balance of what our bill was this year. They
Okay.
increase for that.
Well, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
haven't heard that term before that I can recall.
Yeah.
It's usually just physicals.
Physical,
yeah.
That's the website that we use, that
Okay.
people go on to upload their documents.
Okay, and then my next question is in the same space, adding in costs for coaching education fees.
Yeah.
What is it that you are going to utilize to,
For our paid coaches that we bring in, anybody that's new that hasn't done it, every coach has to take fundamentals of coaching, and they have to take CPR and first aid. That's a requirement by the PIAA. So that would help cover those costs. It's like about $120 per coach. We probably wouldn't use all the money in a given year for that. But I just kind of, well, right now we already have two teams that we have to fill coaching spaces for. So if those coaches haven't taken those courses before, then that'll help them cover those costs before they get in to or we can reimburse them after they start their coaching time.
thank you.
The other thing is I could get trained to do it myself, and then we could have to do it for free, but I don't know that I want to do that.
Anything else for Mr. Mincer? Thank you, Mr. Mincer. Mr. Wolf?
Good evening.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wolf?
Well, you know I will. They're not bad questions, Mark. I look at this thing summary that you gave us, and it's like an average, I'm just ballpark $125,000 increases. But your budget comes nowhere near, what actually decreased so much to offset that? Am I missing, well, I have to be missing something because
There's quite a few things throughout the budget that increased. These were kind of the things that were new to the budget that are on the handout that you have.
So I think what she's saying
But
is, so you added these things and there's a significant increase, but what came out?
I'm not arguing the increases, I understand the increases, but when I look at this year's budget and next year's budget, it only has like 20,000 increase. So where did all the rest of it decrease from?
I think you should, so utilities, largely utilities at Salisbury Elementary.
Oh, okay.
Because utilities are in Mr. Wall's budget.
The whole Salisbury budget's not included in this budget.
And that makes sense to me, but I'm thinking, these two, I'm mathematically I'm thinking, where did this money go? But it's not listed to say we took it out, it's just, these first two, they're biannual preventive maintenance things. Are there other biannual preventive maintenance things in this budget presently?
No, those pretty much are the two. The roof maintenance, those go back and forth from Avis, JSE, and the admin building, and then next year we will do middle school, senior high.
So normally like this can be dropped next year, and then the next year it'll come back in.
It'll
Is that
come
what's
back
going to,
in for those other
okay.
schools, and then depending on gym floor, like this year will be the senior high, and then next year will be the middle school, but
Either replace it or,
probably not next year for the middle school.
that's all I had.
Mark, where's the other ticket booth at?
There's two at the one end, and then there's one at the other end.
Gotcha. I always forget about that end.
I hate to ask you this, but there's no way the construction crew for the kids could build those ticket booths?
I think it's
Something
more of
they
a,
can't handle or what?
I think it's more of a timing thing for them. I won't, David might be able to speak to that, but they kind of have a set plan of what they're doing. Surely I would be open to do that.
But remember, these are probably, you're gonna approve this budget July 1.
Yeah.
Want to have the ticket booths for the first game in August,
School's
something,
out.
and they're not gonna be here.
Bad planning. All right, that's good. I can handle that.
Anything else for Mr. Wall? Thank you, Mr. Wall.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Wilmer. Thank you to the administrators and Mr. Wall. Thank you. Next, we will have courtesy of the floor. I do have one person who's signed up tonight, Carl Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer, if you, you had listed down that you wanted to talk about Pennsylvania.
A PA, like PA for like announcers games, a PA announcer at sports games. But I think I'm supposed to go with the second one, it's not the agenda.
That's fine.
I'm actually signed up for the one at the end of the night, I believe.
I think, the end of the night would be just fine.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, next we will move on to personnel. Items to approve, A through M. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There is nothing under curriculum and instruction. Moving on to buildings and grounds. Item to approve, letter A. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Any questions?
Second. Had their button pushed the wrong way.
That's all right.
I have
Any questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Yes.
Just a clarification. And again, I can't find it on my iPad right now, but I was looking over at the guaranteed and calculated savings, the shortfall. In other words, you are, because of these unit ventilators, you're calculating there's going to be a savings. You're guaranteeing us a certain amount, and the calculated amount is higher. And there's a shortfall in there. Is that going to be reimbursable to the district, from what I understand, the shortfall? Or in other words, if you don't reach that savings?
You would get reimbursed.
Our history has been that we have actually exceeded, right?
You want to come to the mic so they can.
We can hear you, but they can't, that's
Harry,
listening.
Harry, you don't have yours on either, like your microphone, like nobody.
I don't have it on. I don't
Right.
know where it's at.
It's underneath up here.
I speak loud enough, I talk for some of
Yeah, but it doesn't go to the
Doesn't go
people
to
that
the-
are
I know.
online.
I understand. You keep telling me that. Well, I'll-
Yes, that would come back in the form of a reimbursement if we don't reach that threshold, although our history has been, we've been able to exceed what we projected, and that's part of how we've gotten rebates back to the district. But yeah, if we fall short, yes.
So in other words, the guaranteed savings are what you're going by.
Right, yes,
If the savings don't reach that guaranteed,
right.
that's
You
your
get that money.
shortfall.
Right.
Okay, I had some other questions here too, but I can't find it on my iPad, so that was the main thing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for me? Carla is here as well. She's our engineer who works with Mr. Wall in developing these projects, and if necessary, Mr. Arnold's available, although he's at a different board meeting, we'd have to call him in.
Anybody?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to finance. Items to approve, A through F. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Mrs. Stemler, may I speak?
Yes, absolutely.
So I just want to explain letter E, and I know you already voted on, but more want to explain this to the residents of the district because it affects absolutely everyone that lives in this district. We are switching our lockbox for real estate taxes. So we will communicate this further when it comes closer to time. And I'll try to communicate it in every blast I can across the district. You will no longer, you still have the option to mail your tax payment in. The PO box will be different. It will not be going to Lancaster anymore. It will be going to Muncie. The lockbox is now with Journey Bank. And more importantly, for the residents of the district, you can pay your taxes in person to any Journey Bank in Lycoming or Clinton counties. So it's a huge change. It's going to be a huge undertaking for the next 3 months. But I did want to make that announcement with your passing of letter E. I didn't want to do it before you passed it, so. But that's the big change for everybody. So we will try our hardest to communicate that. It'll be written on the bills. We will communicate it more in June and July when they come out. But I just wanted to make that announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Enders. Okay, moving on to miscellaneous, items to approve, A through D. May I have a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Is there any elaboration on the pathway agreement?
Those are both updated agreements to reflect what we're doing in the building and what credit will be received by our students going to Penn College. And just for clarity, for the whole board's sake and public, those have to be up to date for program approvals. So Mr. Bittner does that regularly so that when he applies every year for program renewal, they see they're up to date.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There is nothing under old business. And now we will have courtesy of the floor. Mr. Schaefer, you're more than welcome to come to the podium. You can just state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes then.
Certainly. Carl Shaver, 215 Wiley here in the borough, or I guess we're in Porter now, but in the borough. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, just a comment. I'm retired, so I have thanks to Bill Mincer and the predecessor, I have my free pass to go to all the home games. But I noticed when I go to some road games, I noticed when I went to the boys' game in Mentorsville, that I was very impressed that, because I don't go to a lot of road games, that they have a PA announcer that said, Ditmar or whatever, so whoever scores. And I also noticed last year, and they have a real nice scoreboard. I don't want to go spending all your money, but it's really nice. It updates list of the 5 players on the floor, and it shows exactly what their points are. I'm not necessarily advocating that, but Bill Mr. Mincer may be familiar with that, but I like that. And I also noticed when I went to the Central Mountain Jersey Shore boys hardball game last year that they announced the players. Just kind of a simple thing, but I don't know if it's something you guys, I guess it's not a major issue for the board or whatever, but I don't know if anybody's discussed it with Mr. Mincer or anybody before, but I just, wanted to make that known. I think it'd be kind of nice. I think, we're we have a first-rate sports operation. I think we do things really well at the school district. I just think that's something, maybe Mr. Mincer or whomever could, take a look at. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Uh-oh, they do. Okay. Ray Beerley, Pyatt Township. I want to talk about the February 19th Building and Grounds meeting. At the February 10th board meeting, Mr. Brungard indicated that he was canceling a Building and Grounds meeting to be held on Tuesday, and he was hoping to reschedule it for the next Wednesday if it worked out for all the committee members. I emailed him on the weekend to find out if the meeting had been confirmed, and he responded and said that the meeting was on. He said that, yes, on Wednesday, committee meeting only to make some decisions. It's at 4 o'clock, committee meeting only. I asked why it was so early. Makes it hard for people to attend when they're usually held at 6. This one's going to be at 4. And he said the meeting's not open to the public. It's for the committee with Site Logic and others to get some direction as far as what repair to pursue and money's needed. I asked, is that legal? And then I said, if it's not open to the public, will it be live stream or will the video be posted? And I didn't get any answers to those questions. I also noticed that if you look at board policy 000, local board procedures 006 meetings, all committee meetings are supposed to be open to the public unless called for an executive session. 3 times in these emails, this was identified as a committee meeting. The topics that were to be discussed are not qualified for an executive session. So this meeting should have been open to the public. It was not. It's also supposed to be advertised in the newspaper. I couldn't find that. It's supposed to be posted on the district website. I couldn't find that. So 3 of us ended up coming to the meeting because it was supposed to be open. And when we got to the door here to get buzzed in, Mrs. Stemmerler came to the door and we said, we're here to go to the meeting. And she said, it's not open in the meeting, you can't come in. So to the best of my knowledge, the meeting wasn't live streamed. There's no video of that. No minutes were provided this evening, even though minutes had been provided in the past. So this seems to be a lot of violations of board policy and maybe even the Sunshine Law. Is the solicitor okay with this? Is this appropriate that we're having meetings like this? Is this something you might comment on at a future date of how we're supposed to hold meetings? I'd be interested to know. Makes me wonder though, are we doing any other meetings this way, keeping them secret from the public, hiding them from the public, not allowing public to attend what's supposed to be public meetings? This is a huge violation. This is a huge problem. We should have been in that meeting, able to watch that meeting, and we were not permitted to do that. And then I also hear that we're going to send emails back and forth about what we think are priorities and what projects we should do. And at another meeting, Mr. Allen was told that he had to let the board know what he wanted to talk about before he talked about. How much
Mrs. Beerley, your time is up.
How much business are you guys conducting through emails? That's also a violation of policy in the Sunshine Law. That's
Mrs.
a lot
Beerley,
of
your time is up.
illegalities that I think somebody needs to let me know what's, excuse me?
Please take your seat.
I just wondered what comment she said. She had a question? Okay. No, one thing's really big. I do.
Hi, you'll have 3 minutes if you can just state your name and address, please.
Jeannie Pellicor, 761 Railroad Street, Jersey Shore. Good evening. We've had 6 of our older children that have graduated from JSASD. We currently have 5 grandchildren enrolled here, along with our son, Alexander, a 5th grader at Avis Elementary. You may recognize him as he helped lead the Pledge of Allegiance for this group on February 10th. I'm speaking to you tonight about an ongoing problem that many students in this school district experience, bullying. Several of our grandchildren have experienced school bullying to varying degrees. Their parents have tried to address it, but little is done to remedy the situation in the long run. Bullying takes many forms. It seems that anyone who doesn't fit the right mold is a target and is then verbally or physically abused or ostracized. That is what Alexander is facing now. Over the past year and a half, he's been physically pushed around, belittled, set up by others to get him in trouble for things he didn't do, touched inappropriately, and excluded from play. He's also experienced 2 injuries this school year, a broken finger and a cut and swollen lip at the hands of other students. Not done necessarily by deliberate bullying per se, but I firmly believe that neither injury would have occurred if Alexander was not already the target of bullying. While this most recent incident of physical injury was handled by the principal, it was the aftermath that deeply troubled me. When Alexander came home from school that day, he had a true emotional breakdown. For an hour and a half, he cried and told us about all the incidents of bullying, abuse, and rejection by his peers. He felt that everyone in his class hates him except for 1 or 2 others because he is, quote, different. Alexander may not be as big or as mature as most 5th graders. He has older parents. He may need extra help learning some things, but he's a good kid. He has a good heart, and he just wants to be accepted and have friends. While his teacher tries hard to support him and to put a stop to the negative interactions, other personnel choose to victim blame, advising us that Alexander should choose more mature topics to discuss than Legos and Minecraft. We've already experienced one grandchild in another district attempt suicide at 14 and nearly succeed. I don't want Alexander or any other child to be the next one acting out of despair. So I have 2 challenges for you, the school board, tonight. First, I challenge you to find out how widespread bullying is in this school district. Take a simple anonymous survey of at least grades 4 through 12, asking each student if they have been bullied, if they have witnessed others being bullied, and if they feel more should be done to address and/or prevent bullying. Second, if that survey indicates a need, look into what else can be done to encourage kindness and acceptance of every student, no matter their unique characteristics, interests, or differences. What programs or incentives have other school districts implemented that have had a positive impact on preventing bullying? I ask you to consider taking these 2 actions before we in the district are forced to face more serious, even tragic results of ongoing bullying. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, before you leave the podium, I want to just let you know we heard your concerns, but I do want to ask you, there is a chain of command to follow when you're experiencing these kinds of situations. Do you know if your grandson's parents or if you were in charge of your grandson, have they contacted teachers, building principals?
I'm speaking directly about my son, and the principal has handled incident that has come up, but the incidents keep happening. And now they've come to the point where, we need to find counseling for him. We need to do something before things get worse for him. And I know he's not the only student in the district. And that's why I'm just asking, can you look at it, see how widespread it really is, how many students are affected?
Thank you very much.
And then just real quickly, if there's no other public comment, I'll just address Mrs. Beerley's comments. We actually were consulted, my office. That was not a meeting as defined by the Sunshine Act. Just because Mrs. Beerley calls that a meeting, that was actually just an opportunity for SiteLogic to present information to the committee as they walk through the buildings. So allegations should be cautioned, and just if you have concerns, you can always bring them to our attention, and we'll address them appropriately.
I was making an allegation, the email I received. Meeting. Okay, the meeting of the.
That's what your interpretation is. What ended up happening was not that.
Well, I also am going to set the record straight, Mrs. Beerley. So for the community and for this board, that the day of that meeting, when you were here, I did not turn you away from that door. Let's be very truthful. I approached you, Mr. Schweitzer, and the other Mr. Schweitzer here at the door. I was behind you approaching, as you were already been told by Dr. Osenbach inside this building that you were not permitted to come in. She turned you away.
He didn't identify.
I did not turn you away. So let's just be clear, and I did not invite you back to the podium. So
Well,
that
I
is
think the
it. You
public
can
needs-
take your
if you're
seat.
challenging my comments, I should be able to make comments in a format that the people can hear my response.